hell are you? Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
The Marvel franchise has been a memorable one with lots of great memories, especially if you consider peak era MCU. Today, the TV Regent is going to pay its respects to this phenomenon by giving you the top 25 best Marvel scenes of the century.
You thought you could escape me? No! You think you have some worth?
Now, be honest with me. Most people thought that Rocket Raccoon was just there for laughs and giggles, isn't that right? It's okay, I mean, I felt the same way too. And then I watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. In an era where the MCU hasn't been able to dominate the world of cinema, this movie stands tall as the magnum opus of James Gunn's career with Marvel. I'm not going to get into Rocket's tragic origin story, but I did feel a huge surge of satisfaction when I saw him get his revenge against the Higher Evolutionary in the finale. The James Bond reference was a nice little touch to top the scene off, and the Guardians joining him in battle after that truly turned the moment into something grand. Bradley Cooper may not have shown his face, but his presence was definitely felt in this movie.
The name's Rocket. Rocket Raccoon.
You know you've made it in life when your movies earn hundreds of millions of dollars and your scenes get immortalized as memes. Steve Rogers isn't the kind of guy you'd expect to be a hit amongst the kids, but in this Gen Z world of TikTok and Instagram, expect the unexpected.
Drop the shield, put your hands in the air!
Of course, the elevator fight scene is one of the more iconic moments from the MCU, and it deserves every bit of attention that it's gained over the years. The fact that Captain America can be so calm and composed even when he's got an entire elevator of Hydra agents ready to jump him speaks volumes of his skills, not just as a fighter, but also as a tactician. Bro even offered mercy to the goons by giving them a chance to walk away from the battle. He was confident that he could take on all those guys, but tried to avoid violence, which was definitely a classy move.
Listen, personal!
I was bitten by a radioactive spider. I'm pretty sure you know the rest, jerk.
Sony knows how to make a good Spider-Man movie, and it doesn't matter if it's a live action or an animated film. The Miles Morales Spider-Verse movies have been so good that I honestly can't wait to see how the whole saga ends for Spidey. Of course, when it comes to memorable scenes, I've got to point out the time he one-ups freaking Spider-Man 2099 with one simple line. Bro just went through a whole session where he's being told how much of an inconvenience he is.
I'm not a kid, Gwen.
That's exactly what you are. You're just a kid who has no idea what he's doing.
But he diffuses all the stress by saying, nah, I'ma do my own thing. I don't think people get how badass it is for someone to say that to Miguel. I mean, the dude's a vampire version of Spider-Man. He commands respect just by existing. And then there's Miles, who not only evades an entire Spider-Man army, but also stands up to his opponent without even a speck of doubt in his eyes. Now that's what earns you respect.
I'm gonna do my own thing.
I know people aren't exactly over the moon with most of the MCU's streaming content, but Loki's a rare exception, I think. There's a reason he got a second season, and he made sure to pay back the fans with an emotional roller coaster of a finale. Man, this scene really hits me in the feels, you know. Never once did I ever imagine that a guy who was willing to destroy an entire city just because of some daddy issues would go on to become the ruler of the multiverse. Bro made an iconic sacrifice, and he finally got the throne that he was chasing after his whole life.
I know what I want. I know what kind of god I need to be for you.
It was a bittersweet moment for the character because, on the one hand, he's taken Kang's place and is now overlooking the infinite timelines of the multiverse, but he's all alone now. Man, even Giga Chads wouldn't go so hardcore. If I had to pick my favorite moment, it's got to be when he saves the multiverse from collapsing by literally grabbing the strands of space and time. Now that was a badass moment, truly deserving of a god.
Jarvis.
Welcome, Holmes.
I am Iron Man.
The MCU has a lot of notable trademarks, like the post-credit scenes. It all began way back in 2008 when the world was introduced to the glorious Tony Stark as Iron Man. Of course, the star of the show was none other than Robert Downey Jr., but let's take a moment to appreciate Nick Fury's little cameo after the movie ends. Little did we know at the time that a PG-13 Samuel L. Jackson would go on to form the most profitable superhero gang of all time. Now that I look back at the sequence, I realize how far ahead the producers were thinking when they shot this scene. There was a vision in place, and by that I don't mean Wanda's robot lover, okay? I mean a vision to establish this universe as the dominating force of the 2010s. Oh man, nostalgia really does hit hard, doesn't it?
Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative.
Enough! You are all of you beneath me. I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that.
I know I hyped him up a lot in the first entry of this list, but come on. Seeing the Hulk smash the living daylights out of a god will never not be funny. It's just the timing of the whole thing that still makes me giggle whenever I watch this scene. Like, you've got a whole apocalyptic battle going on outside, and the best thing you choose to do is insult an angry green giant who's literally 10 times your size. Like, what do you think he was gonna do? Bow down to that ridiculous costume? Sure, it's all CGI and stuff, but to see the God of Mischief wheezing like a baby was very satisfying to watch back in 2012. This was also the first movie that included Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, so seeing such a comedic side to the character was definitely entertaining. Personally, I still prefer the darker version of Bruce Banner, but as long as his alter ego can make a puny gun out of someone like Loki, then he's all aces in my book.
Missed you, man! Alright, MJ, heads up!
Got it, close it.
This was a peak moment in Spider-Man history because, let's face it, we were only missing the animated actors here. Tobey Maguire has always been the one true Spider-Man for most millennials and even some Gen Z kids too, actually. Andrew Garfield was a widely misunderstood Peter Parker who unfortunately keeps finding himself in the middle of backcracking jokes. Tom Holland is basically the new kid who's Iron Man's pseudo-son, but when you put them all together in one scene, it's nothing short of unforgettable. To this day, people will still call out to the epic Spidey triplet striking a pose together while facing off against their sinister counterparts. I mean, they could have just shown this clip without the rest of the movie, and it still would have made $1 billion. That's how crazy people got after watching this film, you know. And it's pretty much a staple entry now whenever I do all-time lists. It's amazing how a series as funny as the Guardians of the Galaxy can turn out to have some serious tear-jerking moments. I already covered one entry before, and now it's time to mention a moment that made most of us cry in the cinema halls. Yours truly included, you know. Yondu was always portrayed as a villain. But that final scene where he saves Star-Lord was something noteworthy. The way he tells Peter that Ego might have been his father, but never his daddy, was poignant and heartbreaking at the same time. Like, where did bro learn to even speak like that? I thought this guy was all about firing arrows and robbing people across space. He's easily my favourite space pirate after Rick and Morty. That is, of course, if you want to consider putting those two under the same label. But yeah, those final words made Yondu's death all the more impactful. It was a very cold moment, and I'm not just saying that to make a pun out of it.
Earlier it struck me. Yondu didn't have a talking car, but he did have a flying arrow.
That Yondu scene really made me emotional, so I need to find something funny now, okay? Oh look, it's the funniest line from Thor Ragnarok. We all love to see two big baddies face off against each other, but sometimes it's not the fight, but the build-up that enhances a scene. As far as the Thor versus Hulk battle is concerned, I can safely say that logic holds true for it. The friend from work line was so apt for this moment, I felt like giving the writer an award for it, you know? Never in my life did I ever imagine the God of Thunder would be used as comic relief, but this movie changed my whole perception of the character. Sure, he's better off when he's giving off those alpha male vibes, but I guess Chris Hemsworth really wanted to show off his versatility. Not sure it worked though, because his next big project was Netflix's Extraction.
Hey! Hey! We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Wanda, Black Bolt could destroy you with one whisper from his mouth.
What mouth?
This movie may not have lived up to its expectations, but it did give us a few precious moments. One of the standouts is easily the demise of the Illuminati. And yes, I know it all could have been avoided if Mr. Fantastic would have used just 1% of his brain. Sorry, Reed, I'm not going to keep making fun of you for that mistake. Like, you're supposed to be the smartest man in the universe, right? Bro wasn't even the smartest man in the room without a wheelchair. What really stood out to me was the way Wanda's evil alter ego was being portrayed here, especially when she snaps Professor Xavier's neck harder than Andrew Garfield's snap Gwen Stacy's back. Oh, damn it. See, this is what I meant in that Spider-Man entry. On a more serious note though, the domination on display was truly brutal, and I keep coming back to this sequence even if it's a rather uncomfortable one to watch. Isn't it interesting that we've already got multiple post-credit scenes in an all-time list? Just goes to show how versatile the MCU is as a franchise. Of course, the one man they must thank for their existence is none other than the late Stan Lee. I sure hope he's resting in peace somewhere, because bro gave a whole lot of other bros some great memories during their childhood. You could say his cameo in the second volume of Guardians of the Galaxy was something of an homage to that very fact. Like, he spent the whole scene talking about a bunch of stuff that he did as cameos in other Marvel films. Okay then, you know what? Time for some trivia now. Those bald dudes standing around Stan Lee were actually Watchers, just like the ones who we saw in the What If series on Disney+. The irony of the whole thing is that the Watchers literally watch what's going on in the multiverse, and now they're listening to the man who actually created them in the first place.
How will I get out of here? Hey, gee, I've got so many more stories to tell. Guys.
3.
Wow. Talk about karma, eh? So this one's not exactly one scene in itself, but a culmination of what eventually happens because of it. The rebooted X-Men timeline kicked off with First Class, and it gave us a lot of context which explained Magneto's villainous intentions. The part where Sebastian Shaw orders him to move the coin has got to be one of the most diabolical scenes in X-Men history. Even Billy Butcher would agree. Of course, it would all come back full circle when Eric managed to get his revenge with a little assistance from a certain Charles Xavier.
You killed my mother. This is what we're going to do.
That too was a pretty cool sequence, especially with the way Magneto calmly ends the man who gave him his worst possible experience. Can we please just appreciate how good an actor Michael Fassbender really is? Speaking of which, I can't wait to watch him in David Fincher's The Killer on Netflix. It's no secret that successful people like to indulge in a bit of fun with substances every now and then. If I were to consider Stephen Strange back when he was just a normal doctor, then I would have probably put him under the same category. However, bro went on to become a sorcerer and experience the trippiest trip of all trips. I really want to know what the Ancient One is on, because if that's what you can do with a simple touch, then you do need to become some kind of holy dealer.
What did you just do to me?
I pushed your astral form out of your physical form.
What's in that tea? Psilocybin? LSD?
It's just tea. with a little honey.
The visuals of this scene alone are enough to place it on my list because I love anything that takes inspiration from 2001: A Space Odyssey. I'm not joking, you know. I still consider this to be the most graphically pleasing scene in the whole MCU. The only reason it's got on this high on my list is because of its effects team.
Analyze his fight pattern.
Scanning. Countermeasures ready.
Yep, it's always better when it's dramatic AF. We all know what happens in the actual fight here, but can we take a moment to appreciate how the whole movie led to this very moment? The initial friction between Captain America and Iron Man when it came to choosing sides was pretty much a foreshadowing of what was to follow in the finale. Whether it was Tony's rage or Steve's guilt-ridden resistance, it really felt like an epic sequence. Every single moment in this film led to that final scene, and I love how it all came to fruition. Of course, I'm not saying that I wanted them to have such an emotionally ugly fight, but the Russo brothers sure knew what they were doing, didn't they?
Let's kick his ass.
I know they've kind of faded into oblivion after Endgame, but I genuinely believe that they can make good movies. And yes, by that I mean films that even Martin Scorsese would appreciate. I know they first showed Captain America moving Mjolnir back in Age of Ultron, but lots of people just shrugged it off as an accidental moment. So when we finally did get to see him in all his glory, that too against the one and only Thanos, people went wild. When I first saw Mjolnir being lifted, I honestly didn't know who it could have been. For a moment, I actually thought Odin came back to life or something like that. Luckily, it happened to be something much better. The first few shots were alright, but it was the thunder move that really got me going. Even Thor couldn't help but marvel at the fact that his own weapon was being used by someone else. To be honest, I think the hammer suits Steve better than the shield, but then again, I've always followed the Tony Stark philosophy.
You know, it's not that bad. Even I don't think I'm Iron Man.
You're not Iron Man. You're not.
So.
We've reached top 10 territory now, so it only makes sense to launch it with a classic moment from the OG Iron Man movie. Tony Stark encapsulates a true alpha male persona, and the final scene where he reveals his true identity is the best way to flaunt it. Bro really just threw away a whole script and ruined an entire cover-up story with 4 simple words: I am Iron Man. These words kicked off the MCU juggernaut, and they could echo loud and clear in our hearts and souls even today. That's exactly why it's such a beloved moment amongst all the Marvel scenes who have ever existed. Man, I wish I had that kind of confidence, but for that, I'd have to be a genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist with a sassy attitude.
I am Iron Man.
It's been a while since I've mentioned this guy, isn't it? So I figured this would be the best place for a little reunion, eh? The White House scene remains the best X-Men opening I've seen till date, and I don't think anyone's going to be taking that top spot anytime soon. Kudos to whoever choreographed this scene, because that man deserves a freaking Oscar for his work right here. Nightcrawler showed us just how classy his powers really are, and he made sure to let us know how our tax dollars were being spent as well. I swear, man, all those deductions just to see a blue German mutant beat the daylights out of the security that you paid for? That doesn't seem fair now, does it? Well, at least the president made it out just fine, right? I know I said the Doctor Strange trip was the best visual effects moment in all of MCU history, but I just want to give a special mention here to the way T'Challa defeated Killmonger in Black Panther.
So you could just lock me up? No.
The reason why this is higher up the list is because of the high stakes involved in this encounter. After all, you've got the Black Panther coming back to take what's rightfully his, right? The subway sequence was also helped by the sick visuals and the impressive coordination between both characters. I know they were fighting, but the whole battle almost seemed like some kind of artistic display. And of course, the way Black Panther actually defeats Killmonger is when you truly feel elevated.
With my ancestors that jumped from the ships, because they knew death was better than bondage.
The X-Men have always been an integral part of the MCU, which is why Logan totally deserves to be this high up in the rankings. The Berserker rage scene still gives me goosebumps till now, and for all the right reasons too, you know. Basically, for a man to be so worn down by the very thing that was supposed to protect him really enhances what he ends up doing to those soldiers over here. Sure, the Wolverine's age might have turned out to be a bit too problematic for him, but I think showing that weakness up front really helped enhance this moment for the viewers. With the whole strike thing finally resolved, they better start shooting Deadpool 3 in overdrive. I need Hugh Jackman back on the big screen ASAP.
She's like you. Very much like you.
That's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry.
After all these years of reading comic books and watching big budget films in the cinemas, the one thing that we all wanted to see was the Avengers assembling together for their missions. We actually got treated to that in the first film itself, even though we didn't get to technically hear it as such. The OG Avengers just gather around in a circle as if they know the drill right from the start. I can already hear the comments saying, well, duh, there's a script for a reason. But to see this team coming together for one sole purpose, that too, after Hulk just Saitama the freaking Leviathan, was top tier filmmaking. Sure, Black Widow looks a little out of place with that pistol she's loading, but they needed to hit their diversity quotas, didn't they?
Miles per hour with a blindfold on. Mom always asking, where did I go wrong?
Took you long enough.
The thing about Spider-Man movies is that they're a lot of fun, but they also teach you some valuable life lessons. We all know about the iconic, with great power comes great responsibility line. But even watching Miles Morales taking that leap of faith in the first Spider-Verse movie was pretty enlightening. The animation on display over here was top-notch, and I can totally understand why it won an Oscar over a Disney Pixar film. The jump kind of symbolizes Miles stepping into a whole new world as Spider-Man, and I loved how grand they made the whole thing look.
Made them myself. They fit perfectly.
Quicksilver might have made an appearance in the MCU, but it's his X-Men variant that really took the world by storm. All he needed was one kitchen scene, and the rest is history. It takes a special kind of skill to be able to impress Professor X, the freaking Wolverine, and even your long-lost dad Magneto. I think we all can agree that Peter Maximoff gets way too little screen time, especially when you consider he's got some of the coolest scenes. This particular moment went so viral that Marvel had to give it a dedicated sequel in Apocalypse as well. Evan Peters might be a late bloomer, but he's sure going to be remembered by a lot of fans all over the world. Just don't do another Dharma, bro. That creeped the living daylights out of me. Kind of weird to find a villain at number 3, don't you think? Well, to give you context, this was the culmination of not just one movie, but the entire MCU up until Infinity War. Yeah, the good guys ended up winning in Endgame, but Thanos did pull off the snap that he'd been wanting to effect for years on end. Bro took down the entire Avengers team and even survived an upgraded Thor to wipe half the universe out of existence. The world remembers Infinity War for a lot of cool scenes, but the most impactful moment was when we all realized that our favorite heroes all lost to the Mad Titan. Doctor Strange couldn't do it with all his magic tricks, Iron Man couldn't do it with his best suit, and even Thor missed the mark with Stormbreaker. The villain won, and MCU fans were left completely shocked for a whole year.
You should have gone for the head. Spider-Man! Oh my God, this is it! Tell everyone to hang on! Regent!
So picture this, you're in a speeding train filled with hundreds of people and you're heading towards an unfortunate demise unless a young dude in a latex suit saves your lives with a bunch of webs. How enthusiastic are you feeling then, eh? If this was before 2004 Spider-Man 2, then I don't think you'd be very optimistic. However, Peter Parker showed up and made sure he saved each and every one of those people using sheer strength and determination. I've always loved this train scene and rank it as the best live-action Spider-Man sequence of all time in my personal books. Thanos loves snapping fingers and Andrew Garfield loves snapping backs, but Tobey Maguire refuses to let his web snap, no matter what the cost. I did mention the New York scene earlier, but top honors had to be given to the grand finale of the Infinity Saga. Not only did we get the reassurance that our favorite superheroes were brought back to life, but we also got the grandest team-up sequence of all time. It was so epic and surreal that words won't be able to justify what I felt, especially when Captain America finally said, "Avengers, assemble."
Avengers!
Assemble.
Man, this is what the MCU was to me, and I'll never regret the time I spent watching these movies because they all led to a shared experience between myself, the hundreds of millions of fans all over the world. If Thanos defeating the Avengers was good enough to land at number 3, then the Avengers getting their revenge was the undisputed choice for number 1. Hope you liked the video, please subscribe to the TV Regent, and here's another video that I know you'll enjoy.